Right. So we've got this stack of articles and reports about the Southern California real estate market.
Yeah.
And
Big stack.
it's a lot, especially with the election coming up.
Yeah.
So we really want to like break it down for people. Like what's really going on,
Right.
behind the scenes?
Absolutely.
How is like what's happening across the country affecting us here?
Right. And then what's unique about Southern California,
Exactly.
because it's its own animal.
Okay, so nationally, everyone's talking about interest rates.
Yeah.
That's the big thing.
Big factor.
It's like trying to figure out your budget when suddenly milk is like $10 a gallon.
And that's the thing about interest rates is it's not just the number itself.
Right.
It's the uncertainty.
Oh, yeah,
Because
yeah.
you're making this huge commitment when you buy a house.
Huge, yeah.
And to not know what that's going to look like in
Yeah.
6 months,
Right.
a year down the line.
It's terrifying.
It's scary for people.
Yeah.
Makes them want to hit pause.
Which it seems like most of the country is doing.
Yeah, you see that?
Well, here's the thing.
Yeah.
Southern California, not so much.
Right.
Like, we're kind of this weird bubble
We are.
where even with those same crazy interest rates,
Mhm.
things are still,
Moving. Yeah.
they're not
Fair-
frozen
Yeah.
like other parts of the country.
So why is that?
Well, it's funny because a lot of the things that make Southern California real estate challenging
Okay.
are actually working in its favor right now.
Okay. I'm just saying.
Like scarcity, for example.
Right.
There's just not that much of it. Yeah, especially when you're talking about
Especially the good stuff.
the desirable areas.
Right. On the coast.
Everybody wants a little piece of that.
Exactly.
And so,
Limited supply,
Right.
high demand.
classic economics 101.
There you go.
It's like trying to find parking at the beach on a summer day.
Exactly.
You're circling.
Good luck.
Good luck.
Right.
Right. But it's not just about the lack of space, right?
No, it's not just about the physical space.
Right.
It's also about who's here.
Okay.
You've got a high concentration of wealth in Southern California.
Right. We've got a lot of very wealthy people
Yeah.
who are probably not as worried about,
Not sweating those interest rates.
yeah, they're paying cash, maybe.
Many of them are, or
They're just not.
it doesn't impact them as much.
Yeah.
A few percentage points here or there.
Right. It's like if you're in the market for a Ferrari,
Exactly.
you're not too worried about if the interest rate is
Right. You're gonna
a point higher.
buy the Ferrari.
You're going to buy the Ferrari, right?
Right, exactly.
So you've got that segment of the market
Yeah.
who are kind of doing their own thing.
Right.
But then you've got
The rest of us.
the rest of us
Who are
need to-
subject to the whims of
Yeah.
the Federal Reserve.
and the election and everything else.
Right. Exactly.
So
So how does the average person,
so average buyer,
right, who's trying to
Or
get
worker
them to,
right? They're not buying with cash.
they need the mortgage. They need a mortgage.
They need,
And those rates are
yeah. And now those rates are scary.
scary.
So what happens?
What happens?
What are they most worried about?
What are they most worried about with this election?
Oh, with this election coming up,
Because that's a big unknown
huge.
right on top of everything else.
Yeah, like we don't have enough uncertainty already.
Right.
Zach, throw the election in the mix.
Exactly. Well, two things I'm hearing a lot of buzz about
Okay.
are mortgage interest deductions
Right.
and then those affordable housing programs.
Yeah, those are biggies.
Because imagine you're stretching
Right.
to buy a house.
Which most people are.
Most people are, right?
Yeah.
Especially here.
Yeah. Southern California, not exactly known for being affordable.
No, not really.
So you're already like maxing out your budget.
Right. And then suddenly
Totally.
that deduction that you were relying on
Oh,
is gone.
Yeah,
Or
look
you're
at that.
hoping that maybe,
some new program
Yeah.
will help you afford something.
right, make it a little bit easier.
And it's all up in the air,
Oh, yeah.
depending on who wins.
Talk about stressful.
Right.
It's like those deductions and those programs are like holding up half the market,
Right.
and someone's just yanking on them.
Exactly.
Like, what are you doing?
Don't touch that.
Yeah.
We need that.
And that's not even getting into like
Right.
the California specific stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Which is a whole other.
We could do a whole series on that.
We could.
The ins and outs.
But okay, so we've talked a lot about like
Okay.
those Malibu mansions.
Right.
And how they're kind of in their own world.
Their own zip code.
But Southern California, obviously, much more than that,
So much more.
right? You've got so many different neighborhoods, vibes.
Vibes.
Like, are some areas more
Affected
impacted by all of this than others?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, because thinking about buying in Southern California is like
Okay.
looking at a menu
Okay.
with like a million different options.
I like where you're going with this.
Right. You've got your beachfront,
Right.
your city center,
Yeah.
your historic districts,
Yeah.
your
Like
like
upcoming,
arts district,
you know,
like
like
one.
totally different.
Totally different.
Okay, so how does that
How does that play out?
Yeah, how does that play out in an election year?
So let's give me an example.
Let's say you're looking at Pasadena versus Long Beach.
Okay.
Two great cities.
Yeah,
Totally different.
totally.
Pasadena, you've got
Yeah.
that historic architecture.
Right.
Very family friendly.
Yeah.
Maybe those buyers are more likely to be concerned about
Okay.
those mortgage interest deductions.
They need that extra help.
They need that stability.
Right.
Right.
Okay, that makes sense.
Whereas Long Beach,
Long Beach.
a little more laid back.
Yeah.
Maybe a little more,
Arts district, you said?
yeah, artsy.
Yeah.
Maybe those buyers are a little less traditional.
Okay, so they're not as worried about, like...
Maybe they're not as worried about the election because they're not playing by the same
rules.
financial rules.
Yeah, they're playing a different game.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
And then you've got those even more
Yeah.
like niche
Yeah.
neighborhoods,
Like what?
like a Highland Park
Oh, yeah.
or
Arts district in Long Beach.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Where it's like
Okay.
people are priced out of those other areas.
Right, so they're going to the
It's
next...
finding the diamonds in the rough.
Yeah, yeah.
And they're probably not as worried about
Right.
what's happening
Flipping it?
with interest rates.
Right. They want to live there.
They're in it for the community.
Yeah, for the vibe.
The vibe. So
Right.
it's really about understanding
So it's not just Southern California. It's
Yeah.
like micro
markets
Yeah.
within the bigger.
Within Southern California.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, this is making me look at those for sale signs totally differently now. Right.
Like they all have this like
hidden message.
hidden message, yeah. And we're like
Decoding them.
Decoding them, exactly.
Yeah, it's just what we're trying to do here.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground.
We have.
We've talked about how what's happening nationally is like
Right.
splashing up on the shores of Southern California.
Right. Some areas more than others.
We've talked about those like mega rich buyers
1%.
who are just like
Living on a different planet.
different planet.
Right.
We've talked about those micro markets
Right.
where you can maybe
Find a deal.
find a deal. Yeah.
Right.
Maybe
But the election
the election's still out there,
is still looming.
looming large.
Yeah, like this big question mark
Yeah.
over everything.
Big old question mark.
So what happens after November? Like, what's the game plan?
What do we do?
What do we do?
How do we navigate this?
So what do we do?
Well,
Like, after this election happens, can we
you-
do anything?
you can't really like plan for every scenario.
Right, because we don't know what's going to happen.
It's impossible to predict the future.
Yeah.
It's like trying to predict.
It's like predicting the stock market.
That's exactly. You could get whiplash
Yeah.
trying to keep up with every little.
So what do we do? Just like,
Well, first of all, don't panic.
okay.
Like Southern California real estate.
Yeah.
It's seen some things.
It has. It's been through it all.
Booms, busts, earthquakes.
We don't talk about the earthquakes.
Maybe not.
We're due for another one, though?
Maybe so.
Okay.
So my point is, it tends to bounce back.
Okay.
You know,
So it's resilient.
it's resilient. Exactly.
Okay, so don't panic.
Don't panic, be a T.
Always a buddy.
Don't bury your head in the sand either.
Okay.
What's happening in the rest of the country?
Yeah.
It matters.
Right, we're not immune.
We're not an island.
Okay, so we stay informed.
Stay informed.
What else can we do?
Think long term.
Okay.
That's my biggest piece of advice
Okay.
with real estate in general,
Especially here.
especially in Southern California.
Yeah.
It's not about like
Timing the market,
time in the market or like
getting in on the next hot thing.
flipping it for a quick buck.
Yeah, no one's really doing that right now anyway.
Not so much these days.
Okay.
So
So think long term.
think long term, like what are your goals?
Yeah, are you actually trying to live in this place?
Exactly.
Or are you just
Or is this like
we're gonna invest?
a numbers game for you?
Yeah.
Because those are two very different
Oh,
approaches.
so don't rush into anything.
Don't panic buy.
Don't panic buy. Yeah.
Don't listen to your Uncle Sal.
Unless your Uncle Sal is like a real estate mogul.
Unless, yeah,
Like he's got insider information.
then maybe listen to him.
Maybe.
But otherwise, do your research.
Right. Talk to the experts.
Talk to the experts. Exactly.
Okay, good advice.
Because this is a big decision.
Huge.
Probably the biggest financial decision most people ever make.
Don't mess it up.
Don't mess it up.
Okay.
Okay. Any other words of wisdom before we wrap up our
No.
Southern California real estate deep dive?
One last thing. Okay.
Don't be afraid to think outside the box.
Okay.
You know, we talked about those
Micro markets.
micro markets, those up-and-coming neighborhoods.
Yeah.
They might not be Malibu.
Right. Not everyone can afford Malibu.
Exactly.
Or wants to live there.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's where you might find
Like the hidden gems.
the hidden gems,
Or up and coming.
the good value,
Yeah.
you know.
Okay.
But keep an open mind.
Be open to something a little different.
Exactly.
I like it.
Think outside the box.
Okay, so think long-term, do your research, and be open to something.
Be open to something
A
new.
little different.
Yeah, I like it.
Adventure.
This has been so helpful.
Good, I'm glad.
I feel like I've gone from like 0 to 60
There you go.
in like an hour. Cram session.
On Southern California real estate,
There you go.
I feel very informed.
That's what we like to hear.
I'm ready to buy and sell.
There you go.
Not really, but maybe.
Maybe one day.
All right, well, this has been awesome.
It's been fun.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
And for everyone listening out there, thanks for tuning in to this deep dive on the Southern California real estate market.
Stay informed.
Stay informed, stay curious, and we'll see you next